Welcome to the Swing Trading with Cycles channel. We're going to do an update on crypto here. It is October 26th, about 9 p.m. And crypto has woken up a little bit, although we are undergoing a bit of a pullback here, which is good to sort of zoom in and see what's happening. Now, we'll start with Bitcoin here, and keep in mind a lot of this is related to liquidity. The Treasury announced some sort of operation, which is definitely not QE, but still, an excuse, a narrative, if you will. And there's also certainly this notion of the dollar going into weekly cycle decline. Definitely take a look at the link in the description. The dollar has a big role in a lot of assets, like their trajectory, I should say. And so as it moves into a weekly cycle low, it makes sense we're seeing crypto wake up here a little bit. And so let's see, what kind of rally have we seen here? Wow. So for Bitcoin, it hasn't really been that much, 9%. But that's notable because of this consolidation range that we've had here. Now, we did have these two up days that got kind of snuffed out, and then we continued in the range. Now, let's see what happens. We've had these two green days. New daily candle just opened. And in terms of where we are in the cycle, we have this really clear swing high, massive red candle on day 6. Which starts your daily cycle decline. We move into, and so what I've done here is I've marked the lows, because right now the daily cycle is really unclear, and that is not surprising. This thing is a volatile asset. The daily time frame is a short-term time frame for a very volatile asset. That can be very kind of all over the place, and we've really just been kind of bouncing around inside this consolidation range. So we made a low on day 14, then we went up, touched the top of this box. Came down, made another low on day 36, right around where we made that low on day 14. Came up here, consolidated a little bit more. This is a higher low, right? Higher than this low, than these two lows. And that came on day 44. So that puts us here on day 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. Now, nothing is magical about this quote-unquote 60-day cycle. Doesn't mean we have to get a low on day 60. But the point is, and the way to think about this is, this just gives you a sense of like the length of these things, right? So by the time you get to this day, this whole thing has been, or I should say this whole thing has been happening for 44 days. That's important because look at it in this context, right? This looks incredibly bearish. Like we're just scraping along the bottom, waiting to like just drop, right? Now we have this little move up where we've broken up above the top of this box. This sort of consolidation, like think of it as like an imaginary box we've been in sort of thing. And really what we want to do is take out this high here, right around 22,800. So really getting to that, around that 23. There's still a lot of wood to chop because then we have to take out this next swing high at 25 and the next swing high at 31. That's how it works. And the next swing high at 38, next swing high at like 45. So it'll be an upward battle, and we're going to look at the higher time frames for sure. We're just starting on the daily here. And if we look at ETH in that same context, so ETH is their daily cycle is also more squirrely, but it's definitely outperformed Bitcoin on this move up, right? So this little move up for ETH has been about 20%, right, in the last like 3 days, 2 or 3 days, versus the 9% for Bitcoin, which is what you expect. But it's the same kind of pattern. We ran down, made a low, consolidate for consolidate from between day 23 and day 45. So you can do the math on that, right? That's 22 days of consolidation, just chopping around here. Then we make a sharp low below that level, take out a lot of stops, but then we consolidate some more between day 45 and day 53. So call it 8 days of consolidation. And then boom, we make a little move up. This candle is a little higher high than this. And then boom, up, consolidation, and then these 2 days of explosion. So we're opening as an inside day, just like this candle was an inside day, right? And so maybe we get a little bit of chop, for all of Thursday, right? Kind of hold here, and then boom, another move up. Because what you would expect if we are going to get a move up, it would be, it's going to be in a sort of stair-step fashion as trends go, right? So like maybe we get something like that, right? Like we're not gonna go up in a straight line, but the idea is, like with the Bitcoin chart I was talking about, we need to take out, swing lows sort of progressively. So maybe we get a dip here, move. What we want to see is that we start holding higher lows. And with this chart here, this is your daily, you can see one level we're going to want to hold now is this day's low, right? So 1460. So we're up here at 1560. That's $100 of downside. And you think about it, this thing is going to try to test 2000. So that's 400. So that's a 4-to-1 sort of trade if you want to think about it that way. There's certainly going to be some reaction at 1800, I would imagine. So that actually might be a place to lighten up. But you actually might get a pullback closer to 1460, so you don't have to buy at 1560 if that makes sense. But and obviously this is a daily chart. We can zoom into lower time frames to kind of get a sense. But the risk reward is setting up nicely here because after all of this, you kind of expected a move down. I guess this is maybe your little tell, and then we'll see if Bitcoin goes sort of the same path. But it looks like if you want to think about this from a cycle perspective, either this was your low on day 45. Yeah, I mean, this is basically your low on day 45. You get this consolidation, and you can almost call this like a secondary low on day 53, and then up and away. So that would tentatively put us at day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, essentially. Let's call it. But the broader point is this consolidation may have been what produced this move. So it wouldn't be crazy to see us go up and test, certainly it looks like we're going to go test 1800 at this point. It's really a question of, do we break through there and get to 2000, and how do we react there? That seems like because the move to 2000 seems like from there a move into the 3000s pretty rapidly. If you think about the slope of this decline, we could see a kind of rapid move. And so we'll go to the weekly chart. We'll go to the monthly chart next. And the monthly charts really are starting to shape up nicely. And of course, this is the October candle, which is about to close. So we're really thinking about how the November candle is going to look once this October candle closes. And I've been talking about ETH looked like it had something like a 15-month cycle. And so this would technically be month 16 after a swing high on month 5, which was November. But we're actually sitting on what could become a swing low on month 12. And what I mean by could become a swing low is we do need to get back above 1985. That's the high from this candle, which is right now marking the low on month 12, right? So on month 12, we came down, made that 880 low. We still haven't even come close to breaching that, right? You think about it, like we're zooming out here. That was June. All of July was actually a green month, but it was an inside month. So we didn't make a new high, didn't make a new low. Then we tried to get out above this high, and notice where we failed. It's not a coincidence, right? Right in this zone. We got just above it, but it was a false breakout. Sent price lower. Got followed through in September, but up. Look what's happening here. We made a new low here in October, and we probably are going to run out. Well, maybe not. But what this is setting up very clearly is one of my favorite patterns, the outside candle. In this case, a bullish outside candle, right? Because we went below the low of this month, so the month of September. And right, you can see that. The low from that month. We poked below it, and then we went green. We're now green. So the question is, do we complete the pattern? Do we make a higher high as well? We've already made a lower low. Do we make a higher high above 1789? That's why I think that's a pretty good trade from here. So it's a question of, do we get a little bit of a pullback closer to 1500? That gives even more upside. But really, what you would expect is that we kind of make it through there. Again, there's a lot of headwinds, the correlation with equities, but it could very well be that we had our sort of big cycle low at that 880 level, And this has just been kind of frustrating consolidation. But we do need to break above really this level, that 1985. And so how we react around 1800 is going to be important to tell us if we're going to make it to the 2000s. And so that's your monthly chart for ETH. And for Bitcoin, the more famous 4-year cycle, 48 months, that's easy math. We are on month 46. We are so close. And it doesn't mean these things have to work on clockwork by any means. But this has all the look of a bear flag, right? Like this, we have this big red candle from June. And remember, that ETH red candle from June is acting as a potential swing low. This thing could become a swing low as well. But I mean, we have to get all the way above 33,000, right? Like, or 32,000. I mean, that's a lot of wood to chop, right? But think about that. By the time we get up there, we would have already had a 50% move. And so you could even see a world where we do get up and test that, and then we can come back and get rejected. That said, we've been declining here since month 35. So it's definitely a right translated 4-year cycle. So topped on month 35, we're on month 46, so 11 months of decline, about a year coming up on. So I think a little bit of more patience is warranted. But it is a green candle. And what this is setting up, if things don't collapse in the next, we have another 5 days, we would be setting up for a potential higher high on the monthly chart. And then the next big level, like signal we want to see is a move above 26,000. I call it 25,300, because that's the cluster of highs here where we couldn't get through, right? Price couldn't get through that in July, couldn't get through that in August, got nowhere near it in September, made a lower high. And so 26,000 is really your gateway to potentially trying to test this 32,000 area. I like ETH as a better risk reward for sure. And as we zoom down to the weekly chart, Bitcoin made a high on week 9. It's come down, made a low on week 14. And that puts us here on week 15, 16, 17, 18, week 19, where you can see very clearly we're just making a move above this cluster of highs. That's very bullish, right? That next area we would expect to test would be 22,869. So call it 23,000. Again, that level is coming up again. So it's more a question of what happens when we get there. It does seem like we're trying to make our move, we're trying to make our way up there. Totally possible that we had an early 4-year cycle low. That's not necessarily something to kind of put all your eggs in one basket on, but you have very clear stop levels. And we're actually going to zoom into the hourly chart when we look at a couple of other tokens. And so for ETH put in that big low, that big wick on day 45 that came on week 17. So that could be your weekly cycle low for ETH, right? Previous weekly cycle low was 20 weeks. You can see like these weekly cycle lows don't like sort of V bottom, or in this case it did not V bottom, I should say. We had 3 weeks of consolidation, 3 weeks of frustrating consolidation. And then we had this rocket ship, boom, 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 consolidation, and then another move up. Right, that's important. Like, what is that? Are we setting up for something similar here? Right, that's what you want to kind of prepare yourself for. And again, these are the same levels again because of multiple time frame analysis. That 2,000 level, if we were able to get back above that, that would mean we get above this swing high that started the weekly cycle decline, and we're off to try to come test this swing high all the way up here at 34.50. That doesn't mean we get there in a straight line by any means, but it tells you there's a lot of potential here, and ultimately, you would expect less resistance once you get above that really important swing high. But we'll have to see, obviously. And so that's the lay of the land for ETH and Bitcoin. If we look at a basket of other cryptos, now this is just an hourly chart across, just a smattering of tokens. Actually, this is the S&P futures. That was not my intention. I was looking at Matic. So this is just an hourly chart for, I'll just go through. So Solana, this is Solana on the upper left, then ETH, Matic, which is the Polygon token, you have Bitcoin, Near in the lower left, AVAX, Optimism, which is a layer 2 scaling solution for Ethereum, and you have Uniswap. It's the token for one of the most popular protocols on Ethereum, which is Uniswap. So what you can see, if you're like, just from experience, these are all bull flagging. Some version of a bull flag. I mean, look at this Solana move, right? We had this big move up, and then now we've just been consolidating for hours and hours. Now, ETH had this move up here with this one candle. Now more consolidation, right? Same. This is looking a little bit less healthy, right? Some of these bull flags look healthier than others. Bitcoin also bull flagging on the hourly. Uniswap, same thing. Optimism, bull flagging. AVAX. And if we look at the monthlies, and of course we already know, we were just looking at Bitcoin and ETH. But if we look at these other guys, they're all starting to wake up. Let's look at Optimism first. So Optimism is actually a very new token. It actually only launched in June of this year, and so a very little price history. And this is the March candle setting up for a bullish outside candle. That's a move above 148, and we're down here at 114. So that's a pretty big move. That's about another 30% from here. And the high was somewhere in the 232 range. And this thing is still pretty, if you believe, there's a lot of potential for layer 2 scaling solutions. But it's green on the month, that's important. AVAX, for instance, is not green on the month, but it's getting there. It's getting very close. And you can see that is setting up to be a potential little swing low, right? As this October candle continues to go green, like it looks like it's going from red to green, and then the November candle would kind of follow through, you'd expect a test of the $30 level. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's interesting. This could be a nice trade, actually. So these are all kind of waking up. If we look at Matic, and this one has a lot of sort of adoption, sort of corporate adoption. Ooh, this is looking really bullish. So we're already making a new high on the monthly. So making our, we would expect we're going to come up and test like around the 115 area here. So that's like another 20% upside easily. We looked at AVAX. Near is still pretty red on the monthly. That's not auspicious. Yeah, that's like that. This is a pretty clear downtrend. Down, up. They're all in downtrends on the monthly. What you're looking for is a sign that, the downtrend might be coming to an end. And with Solana, we're trying to go red to green. You can see we're building this little wick here. This looks more similar to Bitcoin, where it looks like a little bear flag here more than anything else. But, that could change very quickly with a big green candle, which is what it's kind of working on right now. So that's the smattering of tokens. We'll look at Uniswap. So that's just trying to make a new high on the monthly. And then we would really expect to go try to attack that almost a $10 area. So that could be interesting. So definitely having some, and this is all predicated on the dollar, partially predicated on the dollar continuing to move into its ICL. Because once it does make the ICL low, you would expect the dollar, the Dixie index that is, you would expect some pressure for crypto just in general and other risk assets. So that's something to really continue to watch for. And there are definitely some links in the description to my analysis on the Dixie, and also just a playlist to understand just context where we are. We're still advancing in a 3-year cycle, so it is going to remain bullish most likely, which does make you question the durability of this rally. And always, it just means you want to be cautious about where you're placing your stops. Oh, and speaking of that, if we go back to that hourly chart, so you can see you can easily see like below 1510, right? If you wanted to be a little bit more conservative, you could set, because really once we violate the low of this candle, the bull flag is starting to. I'll actually zoom in here. Excuse me. once we break the low of this candle, the bull flag is already starting to, break down. But of course, on this smaller time frame, the hourly time frame, you'd expect false breakdowns and things like that of that nature. So it depends on, you might want to give it more room. But in this case, it's only $30 of downside for a lot of potential upside. But that's at the risk of getting whipsawed, obviously. It's just your sort of preference. This would be your next kind of pivot area, so around the 15, maybe just below 15. If you really wanted to give it a lot of room, you're really talking about the mid 14s. We talked about that earlier. So like almost $100. Again, we're going to get more chop, it seems. So it's a question, do we pull? I mean, you could see a world where we pull back to like around, 1535, maybe, maybe even test this, right? Like get to 1530, right? That could be an interest. Like it all depends on the short-term nature of the trade and, the risk-reward profile you're trying to set up. But this is definitely looking like it's trying to make a move higher, and I would think a test of 2,000 at this point, which is nice upside on a percentage basis. Optimism is another one I'm really looking at. That has a lot of room to run percentage-wise.